We're less than a week away from the first pay-per-view event of 2025 with UFC 311 happening this weekend. Today I'm going to go through the card from prelims to main card, excluding the early prelims, and I'll make my picks and some predictions on who I think wins and how. First up, starting with the prelims, we have Zachary Reese and Cedric Dumas fighting in the middleweight division. Two guys, both early on in their UFC career, but not that young, both sitting around 30 years old. I believe Reese is 30 and Dumas is 29. Anyway, these two guys going at it at similar points in their careers. Both have a loss or two, both coming off wins in their most recent fights. They do share a common former opponent in Cody Brundage, who beat Reese by TKO from a slam while Reese was going for a triangle, I believe, followed by some ground and pound and leading to the TKO. Dumas, however, was able to beat Brundage via unanimous decision. Now, to who I think got the goods, I'm going to go with Cedric Dumas. I think he's too long, too fast for Reese. Reese has some solid striking, but tends to be a lot of looping punches, roundhouse kicks, and I think if you can keep him at range with quick punches straight down the pipe, you can beat this guy. Having said that, Reese has some solid submissions. If he can get it to the ground, he's pretty sneaky, might be able to pull off a sub, but I think Dumas is walking away with a W here. I'm going to go by UD, maybe even with a 10-8 round somewhere in there for Dumas. So he's going to be taking home the bacon. Moving on, we have Jailton Almeida vs Sergey Spivak, fighting in the heavyweight division. Both these guys in the top 10 rankings, both guys known for their grappling and submissions. Sergey having the better striking and more power, Almeida being the better grappler and more athletic of the two. Spivak should have an advantage on the feet, despite being built like a fucking sack of potatoes. He has some power, nothing crazy. He is a heavyweight. Almeida, on the other hand, although fighting a heavyweight, he's a bit undersized, lacks the real power of a heavyweight. However, his grappling, it's no joke. He's probably the premier grappler in the heavyweight division currently, aside from maybe Aspinall. So, who's going to win? Look, realistically, Almeida in his grappling, it's going to be too good. He's just a step above everyone else at heavyweight, I think, unless you can knock him out in the feet. You know, he's probably got you. So I'm going to go with Jailton Almeida winning this one by rear naked choke in the first round. Up next we have Peyton Talbot vs Raoni Barcelos, fighting at bantamweight. Currently both unranked. However, it's 135. Like, you can guarantee these guys at 135 bantamweight, they're going to be no joke. They're going to be well-rounded fighters. They'll be very technical. Not like the bums that scrape through up at the higher weight divisions, like, you know, sort of welterweight and above at times, especially heavyweight. Honestly, in terms of skill and potential, it's not really that close. Talbot looks like a potential future title contender. Barcelos isn't of the same caliber, however, you know, styles make matchups, and the styles do make this interesting. It should be a relatively easy one for Talbot on paper, if he's the level of prospect that I think he is. Talbot's a young up-and-comer with a 9-0 record, who's coming off a KO win against Yanis Gamuri, and a TKO win against Cameron Saiman, who I rate as a prospect in his own right. Talbot's got some high-quality stand-up, shades of Sugar Show in there, honestly. Not at the same level, but there's some definite similarities in there. He's got very crisp striking with, you know, not much load-up, it's pretty clean. He's got that rangy, wide, McGregor, O'Malley type stance. He's light on his feet. He's cool, calm, has some solid power, which is great, but his stance leaves him open to shots, and he often doesn't take his head off the center line. And he's got his chin up nice and high, which is something opponents could and will exploit as he moves up through to the tougher competition, if he doesn't get that resolved. And, you know, Raoni Barcelos, he's no joke. The man's got some explosive striking, a bit of power. If, you know, he doesn't sort that out, he could catch him, could hit him on the chin and put him out. I'm not sure how Talbot's chin is so far. It stood up to it. It's been pretty good, but we'll have to see. So, Barcelos, he's an experienced fighter. He's been there with some quality competition, such as Umar Nurmagomedov, who's, you know, up here later on the card. He's got some solid explosive strike, as I said before. He can make you pay. He's got some nice movement at times as well. He may be able to take advantage of the openings, as I said before. He's not of the highest quality, but it's still a good test for the young fella. Ultimately, I'm going to go with Talbot to take the win. I believe he wins via maybe third round TKO via knee, or just a UD. Up next, we move on to the last fight of the prelims, featuring Johnny Walker versus Bogdan Guskov. Okay, fight at 205, the light heavyweight division. Both guys ranked inside the top 15. You can guarantee just about any fight with Walker in, it's going to be entertaining. Whether it's because he's throwing some wild shit, or his goofy ass is getting knocked all around the fucking ring, and getting KO'd in the most ridiculous way possible. Every time this man gets KO'd, he looks like one of those inflatable flailing tube mans that you see outside the car dealers. There's nothing like it. It's one of the best sights to see in MMA, as sad as it is at times. Bogdan, meanwhile, looks like he's part of the Aryan Brotherhood. This man's about to start reciting Mein Kampf after walking out to Erica. Just look at the dude. Nah, I'm just fucking with you. This man's no Nazi, but, you know, he's a new admission to the UFC. Only debuting in 2023. 3 fights in the UFC so far. 2 wins, 1 loss. Lost via submission against Volkan Ozdemir, who's, you know, he's a decent competition. That was his UFC debut. He then went on to beat Zach Palga and Ryan Spann by KO. Prior to the UFC, there are a lot of KOs and TKOs on the man's record. He's got some power and finishing ability. It's hard to pick. You know, you never know what you're going to get with Johnny Walker. But I've got to go with my gut, and that's got Johnny Walker getting KO'd once again in the second round. Sorry, man. If you got no chin, I just got no faith in you. Like, you can be as good as you want. If you're coming up against a power puncher who can land, which, you know, unless you fucking Floyd Mayweather, they're going to land on you eventually, you're going out. And look, Johnny's got ways to win. You know, you throw some wild shit, you can KO him himself, might be able to submit him. But I think Johnny's done. He's on the downward spiral. I've got Bogdan. But hopefully Johnny gets up. Anyway, moving on to the main card, we have Kevin Holland and Rainier D. Ritter fighting a middleweight. And look, this should be a fun one. Not going to dive into this one too much though. I think Holland's just too good on the feet for D. Ritter. Too fast, too long, too powerful. The Dutch are generally known for the kickboxing, but this man Rainier might as well be a Gracie. The dude's all ground, no game. If you manage to get a hold of Holland and take him to the ground, there could be some problems for Holland, but I don't see it happening. Holland wins by first round TKO. Up the card, we have Beneil Dariush versus Money Moicano, fighting in the lightweight division. This one, this is an interesting one. My boy Money Moicano's on a 4-fight win streak, having won 6 of his last 7 fights. His most recent win being a TKO Dr. Stobbage over Benoit Saint Denis, in where I think he exceeded most people's expectations in that fight. I think most people thought, you know, Benoit was just going to probably, you know, stuff the takedowns and KO the dude. However, Moicano doesn't give a fuck what we think. He's there to make money and spread the red pill. Moicano went in there, took it to the toughest man in France in his home country, took him to the ground, beat him up, dropped nasty elbows, split him, and got the TKO by Dr. Stoppage. He then called their president a bundle of sticks. You know, hint, hint. Basically got his dick out and marked his territory. Moicano's now the new president of France. Look, in saying that, as much as I'm a fan of Moicano as a fighter and a dude, I think it's a tough fight for him. Dariush, he's got some serious scramble ability, some solid power. I can't see Moicano taking Dariush on the ground, which means I have to win the stand-up, and I just don't know if he can. I think it's a close one, but Dariush for me is probably just a little bit better everywhere. Though Dariush is aging, coming off back-to-back KO losses. I'm going to go with Dariush by UD. Sorry, Moy. Get you next time, baby. Up the card, we have Yuri Prohaska versus Hood Jamal Hill, fighting at light heavyweight. Alright, so we get near the top of the card here. We've got the Samurai versus the Hood, second and third in their division respectively. Probably one of the most competitive fights on the card. There are a lot of similarities between the two's careers, both recent former champions of the division. Both vacated their belt after sustaining serious injuries, who they're going to be out for 12 months or more, and they gave up their belt to allow the division to move on, rather than hold it up, like some others, John Jones and fucking others who we're not going to name. So respect to both men for that. Both men also sharing recent KO losses to Poatan, Alex Pereira. So going down to the individuals now. Yuri definitely the more wild, dynamic striker of the two. Fucking, he doesn't even know what he's going to be throwing, so how can anyone else? But this does leave him open at times. He's got his hands down around his waist, holding each hand, using his head to block punches. His defense isn't the best at times, but he's got a good chin. Well, he's coming off back-to-back KO losses, so look, I don't know how good his chin is now, but if his chin's anything like it was before, he's got a good chin. Obviously, his style can get him into trouble against big hitters like Hill. Hill does have power. In terms of grappling, I'm giving the edge to Yuri. I don't think he'll use it anyway. I think it's going to be a stand-up match. And I am going to go Yuri by KO, as long as his chin is recovered from his last fight. I think Yuri gets it done by late second round or early third round TKO. Now on to the co-main event. We have Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Fighting at bantamweight, the 135-pound division. As said, we had some previous guys who have come up against Umar before on the same card. And these guys, they are the top of the division, unfortunately for us, in particular because of this fucking dude. Like, I gotta be honest here, I can't stand Merab Kakalashvi, or whatever the fuck his name is. This dude's style is the worst in MMA. He's a sport killer. This dude's the living embodiment of, if at first you don't succeed, try again, but in the worst fucking possible way, because he'll fail 50 takedowns in a row and just keep spamming them, and he'll win a fight for it. That's literally what he did against Jan. And to Jose Aldo, one of the goats of the sport, he just held him against the fence like a bitch and fucking foot stomped him and kneed his ass. Like, the dude's afraid of a real fight. All he does is survive, and it's why he's been trying to duck Umar. Umar's going to send this man back to the Shadow Realm where he belongs, in the sewers with the rest of the mutants. I'm going with Umar Nurmagomedov out of pure hate for Merab and how he beat Jan and Jose in the most soy ways possible. I think Umar, honestly, is going to be able to nullify Merab's grappling attempts and beat him on the feet or submit him. Ultimately, I'm going Umar by TKO from a knee as Merab goes in to spam a takedown for the 20th time. Yeah, so let's move on. Fuck this dude, bro. Alright, now the moment we've all been waiting for, the main event of the evening, the rematch. The Battle of Fire and Ice, Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. Now this is the most anticipated fight of the night by far. Two incredible fighters, both well-rounded, fighting for the lightweight title. Man, this is a big one for the hardcore fans as well. Two very similar fighters here in Arman and Islam. However, look, they're very different in their temperaments and approach to fighting. Arman's more of a firebrand, whilst Islam is more ice-cold, cool, calm and collected. Both men coming from essentially the opposite ends of the spectrum in their upbringings, with Arman coming from silk sheets and silver spoons his whole life. His family's quite rich. He's rocking around in Cadillacs and Rolls Royces. He's got yachts and shit. I believe his father's involved in the construction industry and done very well for himself and his family. So Arman, comes from that background. Nothing wrong with that. Don't hate the man for it. Arman's a pretty likable fella. Islam, on the other hand, more humble beginnings, from rags to riches sort of thing. Growing up in Dagestan, very similar to Habib. Despite the difference in their childhood, both men have managed to become two of the most well-rounded elite fighters in arguably the toughest division in the UFC today. As said, this is a rematch. The last time these two fought was Arman's UFC debut, where he was called in on short notice to fight Islam in St. Petersburg, Russia. He was replacing an opponent that dropped out. I can't remember who it was. This was a very competitive fight and unexpected by many on how close it was, with Arman being very competitive both on the feet and in the grappling, at times getting the upper hand on Islam in both realms. This fight ended winning fight of the night, with Islam declared the winner via UD in a close but not a controversial win. It was pretty clear, very close, exciting. Islam definitely won. But, that was 6 years ago now. Both men having went on impressive runs since. Islam 9-0, Arman 9-1. And having, exponential growth in their skills since then. Islam is definitely the more proven fighter. Further on in his career, older, and is well on his way to potentially becoming the GOAT of the lightweight division. Potentially surpassing his friend and mentor, the great Khabib Nurmagomedov. However, standing in his way is a formidable obstacle in Arman Tsarukyan, who, although not having faced a strong competition, is younger in his career and arguably maybe the more improved fighter than Islam. The question is, who has improved more? And look, even if Arman has improved the most and has the most growth, will it be enough to dethrone the king? The way I see it, both men are going to be very closely matched in this fight, wherever it goes. But I see Islam being too fast on the feet and too strong in the grappling. I just think Islam's a little bit faster and more explosive on the feet, and his timing is impeccable. His accuracy, as shown in their last fights, when they fought each other, just a little bit better with his scrambles and takedown defense. I've got Islam winning by 4th round TKO. And look, ultimately that comes to the end of the video. That's it for my UFC 311 preview and predictions. Let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate it all. Cheers, lads. Catch you next time.